On December 2024, at the age of 32, Ottavia Piana became the center of one of the most difficult and terrifying cave rescues Italy had seen in years. On Saturday evening, during an expedition with 8 other cavers inside the Abisso Bueno Fonteno Cave near Bergamo, she was mapping a newly discovered branch almost 600 meters underground and nearly 4 kilometers from the entrance when the accident happened. The tunnel was steep, wet, and unstable. One by one, her teammates crossed a narrow passage. Ottavia was last. As she stepped forward, a rock beneath her feet suddenly gave way. There was no time to grab onto the walls. She dropped around 5 to 8 meters into the darkness below, crashing hard onto the cave floor. The impact was violent. She immediately felt sharp pain in her back and chest. Her ribs were damaged, her vertebrae injured, her knee fractured, and her face bruised and swollen. For a moment, she struggled to breathe. The air felt heavy, and every breath sent stabbing pain through her chest. Her teammates rushed her, calling her name in panic. She was conscious, but pale and trembling. They knew this was serious. The location was deep inside an uncharted section of a labyrinth-like cave where radio signals did not work, and many passages were too narrow even for a healthy person to pass comfortably. 2 members of the team began the long climb out to raise the alarm. It took them hours just to reach a point with phone coverage. By the time rescue services were alerted, precious time had already passed. Around 2 a.m. Sunday, the first rescue teams entered the cave. Doctors did not reach her until late Sunday morning. For nearly 15 hours after her fall, she lay underground in freezing temperatures around 7 to 8 degrees Celsius, with high humidity, unable to move, fighting pain and fear. When doctors finally examined her, they feared spinal damage, lung injury, even internal bleeding. Her breathing was fast and shallow. In those first hours, rescuers worried that if her condition worsened, they might not get her out in time. A rigid corset was placed around her spine to prevent further damage. She was carefully lifted onto a stretcher. Then the real nightmare began. The path out was not a simple tunnel. It was a 4-hour walk for a healthy person, filled with narrow meanders, vertical drops, and sections barely wide enough for a body, let alone a stretcher. Nearly 159 volunteers from 13 Italian regions joined the operation, working in shifts. At times, only 20 rescuers could fit inside the cave. They moved her inch by inch. In some sections, the stretcher would not pass. Rescuers used crowbars and even small controlled explosive charges to widen rock walls, knowing that fumes could add more danger. Every 90 minutes they stopped to check her pulse, oxygen levels, and pain. She was conscious the entire time, exhausted, shaking, and in constant pain, yet aware of every movement. Hours turned into a full day, then 2 days, then 3. Underground, time felt unreal. Dehydration, cold, darkness, and fear pressed in from every side. At one point, doctors feared her breathing problems could turn fatal. Still, they continued. Rescuers created human sliding paths, lifting the stretcher over their backs, hanging it from ropes in vertical shafts, lowering and pulling in perfect coordination. The tunnel segment about 100 meters long had to be carefully widened before she could pass. One wrong move could trigger another collapse. After 75 continuous hours of rescue work, just before 3 a.m. on Wednesday, her stretcher finally reached the cave entrance. Wrapped in blankets, strapped tightly, she was carried into the cold night air. An air ambulance helicopter was waiting. As the stretcher lifted, relief replaced days of fear. She was flown to a hospital in Bergamo, alive but severely injured. Doctors later confirmed multiple fractures to her ribs, spine, face, and knee, but no fatal internal damage. Against the odds, deep in one of Italy's most dangerous cave systems, a fall that could have ended in death turned into a race against time that lasted 4 days. It was not a quick rescue. It was a slow, painful battle through rock, darkness, and exhaustion, one step, one tunnel, one breath at a time. On March 1991, at the age of 40, Emily Davis Mobley was already known in the caving world as an experienced explorer from Scary, New York. a woman who had spent nearly 2 decades mapping caves, running speleobooks, and even training others in rescue techniques. But on March 30, 1991, inside Lechuguilla Cave in Carlsbad Caverns National Park, her skills were tested in a way she had never faced before. She was nearly 2 miles from the entrance and about 1,000 feet below the surface, moving through a breakdown area of loose, piled boulders during a mapping expedition with several other cavers when she reached up to grab a large handhold rock to steady herself on a steep slope. But the rock had been loosened over time, and the moment she put her weight on it, the 70 to 80-pound stone tore free, crashing directly onto her left leg near the knee as she slid backward several feet, the impact trapping and fracturing her tibia in a closed break that sent immediate, overwhelming pain through her body. Deep underground in total darkness except for helmet lamps, she knew instantly the leg was broken, her breathing turning fast and shallow as her teammates rushed to her side, carefully lifting the rock away and dragging her onto flatter stones where a doctor within the group examined her, confirmed the fracture, administered pain medication, and splinted the leg to prevent further damage. But stabilizing her was only the beginning, because they were still 2 miles inside one of the deepest caves in the United States, a cave known for vertical drops, narrow crawls, and slippery formations. It took 7 exhausting hours for members of the team to reach the surface and alert authorities. And once the alarm was raised, a massive rescue operation began, with around 12 skilled cavers assigned to physically move her while roughly 40 more prepared the route ahead, rigging ropes and pulleys across shafts and steep pitches. Rescuers had to travel down the same tortuous path she had entered, negotiating a 90-foot entrance drop and multiple vertical sections before even reaching her, a journey that itself could take more than 24 hours. And when they finally began the extraction, Emily had to move horizontally through winding, rocky passages until positioned beneath vertical shafts where stretcher systems could be used. She was secured into a flexible stretcher and lifted, lowered, and passed from team to team, inch by inch, across tight crawls where her body barely cleared the ceiling, over exposed traverses with drops of nearly 100 feet below, and through steep inclines where rescuers filled every crack with their bodies to support the load. At one point, after being briefly unstrapped to adjust her position, she slid inside the stretcher, and a cord pressed against her throat, triggering a wave of claustrophobic panic as she urgently asked to be lowered and repositioned. A tense reminder that one mistake could make everything worse. The rescue stretched into its 4th grueling day, with teams working in coordinated shifts, re-rigging ropes ahead while others stayed with her, checking her condition and keeping her stable as exhaustion built underground. Despite severe pain and nearly 30 hours awake during the final stages, she remained conscious, even guiding aspects of her own rescue with the calm of someone who had led similar missions before. After nearly 100 exhausting hours from the moment of injury to extraction, just after midnight on April 4, 1991, her stretcher finally rose through the entrance shaft and she saw the night sky again. Immediately transported to a hospital where her broken leg was treated, a moment that began with a single unstable handhold deep inside Lechuguilla and turned into one of the most complex and demanding cave rescues in American history, fought step by step through darkness, stone, and relentless vertical terrain.